It's a substitute for gold, a store of value. Gold is a $15 trillion asset. It is a new asset class. How big could that be? If this new asset class with low correlations of returns and risk relative to other asset classes, all fiduciaries have to look at this new asset class. And so we think it could become, 2 to 5 or 6% of portfolios. It's also an insurance policy in emerging markets.
Cathie Wood, renowned hedge fund manager and stock picker, believes that we are on the cusp of a major global economic shift driven by 5 disruptive technologies: artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, genomic sequencing, and energy storage. She compares the convergence of these platforms to the revolutionary impact of the telephone, electricity, and the internal combustion engine in the early 1900s, arguing that this new wave of innovation will lead to a far more dramatic economic transformation. While economists forecast a global growth slowdown to 2.6%, down from the historical average of 3%, Wood is more optimistic. Her research predicts an extraordinary 8.5% growth rate, driven by the convergence of these 5 platforms, which currently make up $19 trillion of the global equity market cap. Wood believes that within 6 years, their value will rise to $220 trillion, fueling an unprecedented economic boom. Wood also sees the presidency of Donald Trump as a key factor in accelerating this growth. She believes that his policies, particularly federal deregulation, will create an environment ripe for innovation, especially in blockchain and other emerging technologies. In a video before the election, Wood stated that Trump's approach to reducing regulation and government spending would catalyze rapid advancements in robotics, energy storage, AI, blockchain, and genomic sequencing, ultimately benefiting both the innovation sector and the U.S. economy.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
With the election, before this moment in time, I was talking about, gridlock, nothing's going to happen. Now with the results of the election, we can see a lot of changes. And I think the biggest one, and what we just illustrated with nuclear power, is regulations, getting regulations out of the way. We obviously need regulations for the safety and well-being of individuals and so forth, and absolutely agree with that. But the regulatory environment is a morass now. I mean, when you put people in positions as regulators and they start building their empires, you get more and more regulations, and it's really had a stranglehold on businesses, especially small and medium businesses. So we think those shackles are going to come off. We think the biggest regulatory changes are going to happen because SEC Chairman Gensler is going. He's announced he's leaving on January 20th. So the digital asset world, we think, is now about to take off and thrive. And then, of course, while we haven't heard anything about Lina Khan at the Federal Trade Commission, which that commission has been an obstacle to mergers and acquisitions during the last 4 years, to such an extent that it has really harmed innovation. Certainly our strategy is an example of that, because large companies have not felt any pressure, competitive or otherwise, because of the regulatory stance of Lina Khan and others out there, to investigate new technologies, actually buy companies, and establish a price. These are strategic buys, and they telegraph to the world how much innovation is worth from a strategic point of view. Well, we haven't seen a lot of that. There's been a dearth of it, and we think that's going to change. So we're going to have a lot of price discovery. And we know also that at the Department of Justice, President Trump is bringing in people who are very pro-competition, and they are looking at sort of quasi-monopolies out there as being not so healthy for growth in the U.S. and global economy. So I think we're going to see a lot of freeing up and a lot of M&A. There's pent-up demand for it. And we often say that we don't want the companies in our strategies to be taken out. We think they're pure plays and have miles to go. But what we do want is price discovery out there, and we've lacked that for the last 4 years. Another important initiative, so important, is known as Doge. We mentioned it, I think, on the last In the Know. So the Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, we think is going to be extremely important in terms of streamlining businesses. And it has been fascinating during the last month or so to watch them evolve their strategy.
Trump has appointed two business giants, billionaire Elon Musk and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, to lead his Department of Government Efficiency. This non-governmental task force is tasked with identifying ways to reduce government spending by cutting unnecessary programs and slashing federal regulations. Reports indicate that Musk and Ramaswamy will collaborate with the White House Office of Management and Budget, headed by Trump's nominee, Russ Vought, who is known for his experience in driving cut. In a recent op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, Musk and Ramaswamy called Doge a historic opportunity for structural reductions within the federal government. CATHIE Wood is optimistic about these plans but acknowledges that the department will need to navigate the existing government structure carefully to avoid facing significant resistance. She notes that Musk and Ramaswamy are already developing straightforward initiatives, such as requiring federal employees to return to their offices 4 to 5 days a week, which is expected to lead to attrition as many employees have become accustomed to remote work. Wood also highlights a key revelation by Musk that around $500 billion worth of contracts have expired but continue to incur spending, stating that resolving this issue could account for a quarter of the $2 trillion reduction in government spending targeted by July 4, 2026. In addition to discussing the efficiency task force, CATHIE Wood also shares insights on Bitcoin's recent achievement of reaching the $100,000 milestone, exploring what this means for the overall digital asset space. She continues to provide more updates in her latest video, reflecting on these pivotal developments.
Here is an exciting chart. We hit and crossed $100,000 on Bitcoin this week. That's a big deal. As many of you know, we've been involved with Bitcoin since it was $250 in 2015 when we wrote our first white paper on Bitcoin in collaboration with Art Laffer. And I remember back then saying to Art when he said, "This is what I have been waiting for since the gold window closed in 1971. And I said to him at that point, I said, and remember, Bitcoin was $250. I said, "Art, this sounds like a big idea. How big could it be?" And he said at that time, "Well, how big is the U.S. monetary base? That's the reserve currency of the world. This seems to be the new reserve currency of the world." I said, "Well, back then it was $4.5 trillion. Today it's about a little over $7 trillion. Well, crossing $100,000 today took us to roughly $2 trillion. So we're well on our way. But as we were talking, and of course, I've kept this conversation live with Art Laffer, he has come back to me and he said, "Well, wait a minute. You know, before 2008, the monetary base was $750 billion. That's all we needed for the reserve currency back then." And what we've gone back to say to Art is, yes, if we were just looking at it as the world's reserve currency, you might be right. But we're looking at it in many other ways as well. it's a substitute for gold, a store of value. Gold is a $15 trillion asset. It is a new asset class, or as we named our paper in 2016, the one we did in collaboration with Coinbase, ringing the bell for a new asset class. How big could that be? If this new asset class with low correlations of returns and risk relative to other asset classes, all fiduciaries have to look at this new asset class. And so we think it could become, 2 to 5 or 6% of portfolios. It's also an insurance policy in emerging markets for populations who are used to, whether it's corruption or, inexperience or what have you in terms of fiscal and monetary policies, but, collapses in currencies and outright confiscation of wealth or capital controls. So this is ideal as a hedge against those scenarios, and even for high net worth individuals around the world. You never know, you never know what's going to happen out there. So insurance policy. So this is a very big idea. And we are looking forward to sharing more papers, not only about Bitcoin, but also about the 2 other digital asset revolutions, the financial services revolution, and more broadly encompassing, including Bitcoin, the digital asset property rights revolution. Now that is a big idea.
CATHIE Wood predicts that Donald Trump's potential return to the presidency could spark a major economic boom, similar to the Reagan era. She expects his policies to focus on deregulation, tax cuts, reduced federal spending, and promoting technological innovation. Wood believes these measures could drive economic growth by eliminating inefficiencies in government and creating a more business-friendly environment, especially for sectors like artificial intelligence and digital asset. She also forecasts that a shift in U.S. regulations could help the country regain its competitive edge in technologies like blockchain and cryptocurrency, areas she feels have been held back by previous regulatory approaches. Overall, Wood sees Trump's policies as pro-growth and likely to benefit innovative companies, small and medium-sized businesses, and the broader economy in ways not seen in decades. What are your thoughts on Wood's optimistic predictions for the Trump administration? Feel free to share your comments and observations below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.